This conference will now be recorded.
Well, thank you all for joining me in one more session of our virtual networking. It's very exciting to be here with everybody. Today, we have a very special treat. Um, Thanks to Jennifer Lowe, who coordinated this for us. We have Mohammad Anwar, and if I mispronounce that, please feel free to correct me. But looks like I did okay. I pronounce everything like it's pronounced in Spanish anyway, so because um, anyway, he's president and CEO of Softway and Culture Plus. He's also a speaker, and he's written a book called "Love as a Business Strategy: Resilience, Belonging, and Success." So I don't want to steal any of his thunder, but I did want to thank him for joining us and recognize him at the beginning. Basically, we are going to have three parts to this meeting. The first part is I will give everybody a minute or two to introduce themselves. That'll help you, Mohammed, so you know their background. And then, if there's any questions from anybody to anybody based on those introductions, we'll take those questions and whoever can answer them. And then after that, Mohammed, it's all you for the balance of the time. You can introduce yourself in more detail. Basically, talk about your book. I've been and copied you on some of those emails. I sent everybody the link to the book on Amazon. I've sent everybody your bio. But again, please feel free to introduce yourself. Take the balance of the time to about 45, 55 minutes after the hour. I do try to get people out a couple of minutes early before the hour because now we all have these Zoom video chats back to back to back. So here on the East Coast, I'm sure maybe some people have some stuff set up for 3. And also, if you could, maybe leave us, 5 or 10 minutes at the end for questions and answers, because obviously I think that interaction is the most fun. So with all that admin out of the way, Rhoda, why don't you take the batter up and just take a minute or two to introduce yourself? Oh, please don't forget to put your contact information into the chat. I will share that with everybody later today, as well as a YouTube link to the recording of the video, and mention, what might be a good referral for you, or a good customer. So, Rhoda, I know you've done this 10,000 times. Why don't you kick us off?
I still cannot find the chat on this software.
It's the
So,
one that looks like a little box on the top right, at least on my computer.
okay. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, and my company, this is in its 14th year, is called Say It For You, and we are a team of ghost writers, and we write blogs primarily and web content for practitioners, for professionals, and for businesses. We Say It For You B works as subcontractors to agencies. Say It For You A, we work directly with clients. We are all here in Indiana, but the people for whom we write are all over the US and Canada. So we say it for you.
Okay, perfect. And Larry, if you could do the same thing, please.
Sure. My name is Larry Isaacson. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, as Sal mentioned earlier. I'm with Aspire Partners. We have programs that save companies money. It costs them nothing, and they save money that way. We don't get paid unless we save money, and we always get paid. So that's a good thing to do. We also have a program where any business executive or business person has your network, your business network. We have a way to monetize that by just making a referral to us once, and you get paid monthly for years and years and years to come. So it's a good product. I put my information in the chat room. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. And Paolo, same thing. If you could take a minute or two to introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paolo Agostino. I'm located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I am the owner of Equitas Funding Group. We are a real estate investment firm focused primarily on purchasing, renovating, renting commercial and residential real estate. Any good referral for us is anyone who's looking to sell a commercial property or a residential property, or anyone who works with um, either business owners or property owners who have a real estate problem, if you will. Whether it's trying to minimize capital gains or whatever issues that are stopping them from however they need the deal to be structured in order to maximize the benefit for a property owner. That's what we specialize in. Um, in addition to that, maybe of greater help to the group is the fact that I am a member of the Pittsburgh Real Estate Investors Association, Pittsburgh RIA for short, and I lead our commercial real estate subgroup, which is a networking group of commercial property owners, landlords, agents, contractors, investors, small business owners are predominantly probably our largest segment of members. And we meet on the second Tuesday of the month and virtually. And so if there's anything that I can help you out with specifically through my company, or even most likely put you in connection with someone in my network, I am more than happy to do so. And I've already spoken to a lot of the members of this group over the last 6 or 7 months about different opportunities that have come up. So more than happy to have a conversation with anyone who feels like they could use a chat, or need some help, or need a referral, or need a connection to someone. More than happy to make that connection. So great to see everyone this afternoon. And Mohammad, I'm looking forward to hearing you speak this afternoon. So thanks for having me, and thanks for being here, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And I'll introduce myself, which sometimes I forget to do. And I think you all know me, but maybe for the benefit of Mohammed. So my name is Sal Acosta. I am a business broker, and just like it sounds, I help people buy and sell businesses. Normally, I'm in the Pittsburgh area with Paolo, and before coronavirus, I would do a 2-hour driving radius. But now, through the magic of the internet, I'm working with people all over the United States. Funny enough, Florida is one state where it's a little bit hard to do kind of remote work, because in Florida, the business brokers have to be realtors, and that's a whole other ball of wax. But taking that exception aside, and a couple of other states that are also exceptions, in general, if anybody wants to work with me and they're willing to do it over video chat, I'm more than happy to do it. And about 98% of the process can be done remotely. So with that, well, let me ask this, and we're a small group today. Does anybody have any questions for anybody based on the introductions before we turn it over to Mohammed? Nope. Okay, very good. Then once again, we have today our guest speaker, Mohammad Anwar. He is the president and CEO of Softway and Culture Plus. And he's going to be talking today about his book, which again, all of you should, if you're reading the emails, should have a link to the book on Amazon. Love as a Business Strategy, Resilience, Belonging, and Success. So, Mohammed, the balance of the time is yours. And thank you
Awesome,
again for
Noah.
being our guest speaker.
I appreciate the invite. Thank you for having me. I want to let you know I'm flying to Pittsburgh this Sunday. I work with a client out there, Highmark Health. I think they're pretty big out there in Pittsburgh. So we have some culture work that we're doing for Highmark Health out in Pittsburgh. So this will be my second time to Pittsburgh, so I'm looking forward to it. Other than that, I am Mohammed. I'm based out of Houston, Texas. Technically a suburb of Houston. They call it the greater Houston area. It's called Sugarland. So I live in Sugarland, and I work from home since COVID. But otherwise, our offices are based out of Houston, when we used to have an office prior to COVID. But again, my name is Mohammed. I am the president and CEO of a technology company called Softway. And I'm also the president of a culture as a service company called Culture Plus. And so I'm going to try to share my screen, and I have a presentation that I've put together to quickly go through our story and the highlights of the book, and then I'll leave sufficient time or ample time for questions. But before I get started and set my screen up for sharing, any other thoughts or questions for me before I get started? No? Cool. All right, let me know if you guys can see my screen. And I'll go into slideshow. Are you
Oh, and
guys
I
able
see
to see it?
Patrick from Ireland. So, Patrick, thank you for joining us. We'll hopefully have a little bit of time for you to introduce yourself at the end. And don't
Sorry
worry,
I'm late. Sorry I'm late.
you only missed the introductions of the people you know because Mohammed's just getting started.
Wonderful, Mohammed. I look forward to hearing.
Awesome. No, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Awesome. So here, let's get started. So my topic today is about how leaders can put love to work. And as Sal mentioned, I've co-authored a Wall Street best-selling book called Love as a Business Strategy that got released last year in April. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Mohammad Anwar. I'm the president and CEO of Softway, a technology firm I founded when I was 20 years old, pursuing my computer science degree. This was about 19 years ago, is when I founded my company. And in about 10 years of running the business, I believed I had hit the pinnacle of success. I was driving my fancy cars, flying planes across Texas, and I had over 300 employees working for me at the time. And I believed I was living the American dream, especially as an immigrant to this country. But all of that was stopped working around 2015, 2016. Our company was on the verge of bankruptcy. We were losing employees left and right, and we were hemorrhaging cash, and we were struggling to survive. And in a moment of introspection, I realized that this is all my fault. This is not the market. This is not our customers. It was not the industry. It was not the economy. This was my fault. My behaviors, my selfish attitude, my greed for making a lot of money had almost put the company on the verge of bankruptcy. And I used to behave however I wanted to behave. I would yell at people. I would belittle them. I would humiliate them. And the hallways would grow quiet when I would walk them. And some people would even quit after conversing with me. And I just didn't do this in person or through my interactions. I happen to also document a lot of my misbehaviors. This is a refrigerator email that I sent to my company back in 2015. Uh, and I was actually quite upset that the refrigerator was not clean. So I decided to send a company-wide email where I challenged their home skills. I judged them to be lazy. I asked them to help clean the fridge. Otherwise, I would not keep the fridge anymore for them. This particular email got circulated not just to our existing employees, but also our ex-employees, and it also made it on Glassdoor as a result of this. And I tried my level best to delete it after the fact, but it did not work. And so I soon had to encounter our darkest day, where we had to lay off over 100 employees because in order to survive, I had to make the decision to let go of 100 employees. And we did so, unfortunately, in a very inhumane and dehumanizing manner. I'm still reeling in from it, but it was not a very pleasant day. And after that day, I lost all my confidence. I had no idea if I could sustain the company any longer. I didn't know if I was the right person to be a CEO to lead the company anymore. And I quite honestly didn't know if the doors of Softway would remain open even for a month. And I was at like an all-time low in my life. And about 2 weeks after the layoffs, I got tickets and an opportunity to go to my alma mater, University of Houston's football game, where we were playing a formidable opponent of Memphis Tigers, and they were ranked at the time. And we were on a Cinderella season. We were 9-0, and this would have been our 10th game. And so I was really looking forward to something positive in my life. I was extremely excited to go to a game. But unfortunately, going into the fourth quarter, our team was losing by 20 points. And ESPN Game Tracker predicted we had 0.1% chance to win that night. And I debated bolting the stadium and not staying till the end for the embarrassment. But something inside of me told me, stay back, be there to support your team. And I'm glad I did, because as a result, we had the best comeback victory in the history of one of the history books, which I was able to witness, which is we ended up winning that night by a point with less than 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And I, having to witness that, got extremely excited. I got very rejuvenated. I started to see Softway, my company, through the eyes of the Houston Cougar football team, and I envisioned our own fourth quarter financial comeback. And I was ready to go back Monday and not give up, and I was going to fight for supporting our team and making sure that we would survive. And on Monday morning, I logged on to Facebook Live to join the press conference of then coach Tom Herman, who was a rookie head coach for University of Houston. And I was very inspired by what he had done in less than a course of a year of leading as a head coach and how he had turned around the program. And in that press conference, one of the reporters asked him what had led to the resilience and the comeback of the team. And it's what he said that changed the course of my life. He said it was the love. It was the love that the team had for one another that led them to win that night. And he began to elaborate that this is not the love you broke kind of love. This is the genuine, you have my heart in your hands kind of love. And this is the love that helps build championship teams and win championships. This is where the team members go on the field, not for themselves, but for the brothers next to them. And without that kind of a culture of love, there's no way to build championship teams, because all-star players don't win championships. It is the love for one another that wins championships. And having heard that, my brain just was overwhelmed, and I was surprised to hear that answer. But I began to introspect and ask myself the question, do I love my team? And the answer was a resounding no. I did not. And from that moment on, I began on a journey of commitment, which I'm still on, which is to become an empathetic, trusting, and vulnerable leader that puts the needs of others first and creates a circle of safety where the employees are able to be empowered to learn and make mistakes and forgive one another, thereby creating an environment of resilience and belonging. And this is a journey that is a journey with no destination. It is a permanent state of transformation. And so through the course of the years and me working on myself and my behaviors, the team began to rebuild trust, and they began to see that I was genuinely trying to become a better person, a better human, and a better leader. And as a result, the team began to have hope, faith, and commitment to Softway, to where they decided to stay back, fight with me, even in times of financial uncertainty, to do things to ensure that the company would survive. And that's how we went from surviving to thriving. And it gave birth to what we call love as a business strategy, where if we can choose to make a culture of love at the center of the business, where people are at the center of the business, then that is what drives business outcomes and people outcomes. And so we're not talking about the romantic kind of love or a rom-com Netflix movie. This is purely how love in a workplace where we treat each other with respect and as humans can create an environment of success. And this is where we do things out of care for others, and it allows us to have the hard conversation. It is not about being soft. It is not equating love to being nice, but it actually enables us to have hard conversations. We call that tough love, because when we know we love one another, we are able to give feedback, receive feedback, knowing that we have the best interests for one another. So it actually enables harder conversations. It allows us to build processes, tools, and policies that align people with profit. You don't have to put profit against people. These both can coexist. and it allows us to grow with others through accountability and trust. And I do want to say that love is not easy. This is not a silver bullet to solving all culture issues. It does require a lot of hard work, and you do not achieve overnight success by transforming to practice that the culture of love. And it requires a lot of commitment, effort, empathy, um, and understanding of each other. And this is where we found out that we needed to change our culture. Our culture of the company was really toxic. And I, as a leader of the company, had curated a toxic workplace culture. And in my early iterations of transforming culture, I thought it came down to the ping pong tables, offering free food, giving benefits, and all of the above. And while those are important, at the end of the day, it didn't matter because I mistreated people, I belittled people. So we realized that culture is nothing but the culmination of how we treat each other, how we behave with each other. You can have the best pay packages, you can have the best perks and benefits, but if you have coworkers that do not treat you well, that do not value you, those interactions is what defines culture. And so when we realized we needed to transform culture, we realized that we needed to change the behaviors that we brought to the workplace. And it wasn't until my brother was visiting Houston that I had my aha moment that we needed to learn to change the behaviors of the people to change the culture of our organization. So before I go to that aha moment, let me introduce you to my brother. His name is Taj, and he lives in Bangalore, India. And we have a branch office in Bangalore, India, where we have a lot of technologists who work for our technology company. And he was born there and raised there, and he learned to drive there. But I will tell you, he loves driving, and he is one crazy driver. He thinks he is the Schumacher of the Indian roads. And if you've never been to India, let me tell you, India has the craziest traffic on the planet. You will find rickshaws, bicycles, livestock, cats, dogs, and even wild elephants roaming the streets at times. And the traffic in India is extremely chaotic. I would say that if you wanted to find a definition of organized chaos, then the traffic in India is the perfect definition. Nobody follows rules, nobody follows lanes, nobody follows any of the traffic signs, but somehow people get from destination to destination. And in all of this, my brother drives like he's Schumacher. He breaks the rules even further and drives at extreme speeds. And usually I'm holding on to my dear life when I visit India, when I'm sitting with him in the car. Sometimes I prefer to drive in rickshaws versus with him because I'm scared. And so what happened is he had the opportunity to come to the United States for the first time. And I decided to try an experiment and give him my car. And I said, hey, Taj, go ahead and drive the car. And I was expecting a different kind of driving, but to my surprise, he accelerated the car to the speed limit and followed the speed limit. He followed all the stop signs, stopped at every signal. He even used his turn indicator, which I thought he didn't even know what it was. And he began to follow rules like as though he already knew how to drive in the United States. And that's when I had my aha moment that it doesn't matter where people are raised. It doesn't matter how people are raised. It doesn't matter where they come from. If they are put into the right environment, they can change their behaviors almost instantaneously. And so every human has the capacity to change their behaviors, provided we create the right norms and environment for them to be successful at demonstrating those behaviors. And so if we needed to change the culture of our company, we needed to change the environment and set expectations of those behaviors and norms to change the culture of the company. And I know Peter Drucker has a saying that says culture eats strategy for breakfast, which I'm a firm believer of. But at Softway, we say if culture eats strategy for breakfast, then behaviors eat culture for lunch. behaviors are ultimately the bottom line. You cannot change any culture without first changing the behaviors of the people. And so we recognized that we needed to create our own framework and norms of how we behave with one another. So we created what we call the 6 pillars of love. So it's inclusion, empathy, vulnerability, trust, empowerment, and forgiveness. And these behaviors have to be experienced by everyone in the company, and they're not in any prioritized order, or neither is one important than the other. They're in fact like the 6 cylinders of a car engine. They all have to fire at the right time with the right intensity in perfect harmony to maximize the horsepower performance of the engine. If any one piston or cylinder misfires, then you do not get the maximum performance of the engine, or engine can even fail. Similarly, if you want to really maximize high performing teams and high performing cultures, these behaviors have to be experienced in perfect harmony and perfect synchronous manner with the right intensity. And that is how we came up with our culture of love pillars. And we came up with what we call our framework that helps guide our business to achieve business outcomes, but also we consult all our customers and clients on how to build high performing cultures. So it all starts with behaviors, as I mentioned, and the behaviors include your mindsets, attitudes, and communication. And leaders have to be the first ones to have introspection and realization that they need to change their behaviors. And when they do, everyone in the organization has to experience the 6 pillars of love, which I just described. And when everyone in the organization is able to experience this, then and only then do you create high performing teams. And those people are able to bring their true self, feel valued, respected, included, can give feedback, receive feedback, can share ideas without fear of retribution or embarrassment. And that's when teams become high performing. And these same people are then responsible for instituting processes. Processes don't magically appear. They have to be curated by people. And those people, if they don't have the right behaviors or mindsets, or don't follow the cultures of pillars of love, then you will see the process will be tempered. If you want to build process to build true efficiency, then it should come from a place of trust. If trust is not experienced in the organization, then you'll see processes are instituted to check or verify the trust, leading to inefficiency instead of efficiency. Similarly, the same people are responsible for technology decisions or creating technology to unlock innovation. If you don't experience inclusion in your environment, then you'll see technology can exclude certain demographics, can exclude certain age people, or certain people with certain type of technology devices. And so you can end up not creating innovation, but destroying innovation. And so everything has to start with behaviors and the pillars of love that lead to a proper strategic system that can then create an environment of resilience and belonging where people feel included and like they belong to the organization, and they can tackle any challenge that's thrown their way, market conditions externally, competitive scenarios, or internal problems. And when you're able to do that, you're able to achieve any business outcome that you put henceforth in front of them, whether you're looking to build high reliability, employee engagement, customer experience, increase revenue, operational efficiency, or cost containment. And so our business is in the business of strengthening culture by creating resilience, belonging, and success for organizations by changing the behaviors of their employees and staff. And so you might ask, what were the results that our organization experienced? I can tell you personally, for me, as a human, as a leader, I was able to see things that people were able to do for me that I never expected. They were able to forgive me, practice grace towards me, give me a chance to transform myself, but also gave me the support system I needed to become a better human, a better leader. They went on to even taking pay cuts without any obligations. Some of them did not file a single reimbursement to ensure that the burden on the company would not be too much. And they began to do things for me that I never expected. And when our company started to survive and thrive, within 3 years of 2016, when I had this revelation, our company's EBITDA went from negative 15% to positive 28%, a 43% differential. Our revenue increased per employee by 269%, and we tripled our revenue. Our account sizes grew from 6 figures to 7 figures. Our client retention increased from 60% to 90%, and our employee attrition reduced from 30% to 12%, which is a huge improvement for a technology company like ours. And as a result of our own transformation, one of our clients called ExxonMobil, basically, I'm trying to go back to that. These clients out of ExxonMobil who had been with us for almost 8 years at the time had had the blessings of seeing our good side, our bad side, our transformation side, said they wanted us to come and support them transform their leadership behaviors and their culture. And to which we responded and said, no, that's not what we do. We're a technology company. And they insisted and said that we would prefer you and your company to help us with our leadership behaviors because they've been to the Deloittes and the McKinseys and multiple trainings. They even bring t-shirts back to prove they've gone there, but they never change. We would rather you, who's never done any culture transformation work, help us with our leadership behaviors. So they gave us 2 weeks to create a pilot, which we called the Seneca Leaders. And we hosted it with 30 of their leaders and became an extreme success, to where after that they signed on a multi-year contract to send us across the globe to help train 1,400 leaders that came from 46 different countries and change their leadership behaviors. And we did it all through talking about the culture of love. And it resonated for people from all backgrounds, all countries, all geographical locations, age groups, ethnicities. And they all found a universal truth around how love can be a business strategy for them. And so that is when we founded our company called Culture Plus, where we offer culture as a service. And since then, we've been working with some of the largest companies around the globe, offering culture as a service, technology as a service, and communications as a service. And that's how we found a new purpose and new calling, which is to bring back humanity to the workplace. So anything and everything we do today is to help bring back humanity to the workplace through our services and our offerings, starting with our own organization. And I can share with you that lastly, this change starts with you, because if we need to bring back humanity to the workplace, we don't need to wait for our peers, our coworkers, our customers, our politicians, or anyone else around us. We need to be the change. And as long as we can start practicing the behaviors that are needed to be human and love one another, we can really influence change and bring back humanity to the workplace. So that is the end of my speaking component of the presentation. I am obviously available, to connect with you on LinkedIn, or you can email me. We also have a podcast called Love as a Business Strategy. We have a lot of episodes and a lot of guests from companies like Southwest Airlines who come and talk about love and how culture of love has helped them succeed. But I also would love to ship you guys a copy of our book if you would like one, and you can use your QR code on the phone or fill out or type in this URL, and I'd be happy to. If you fill out the form, I'd be happy to ship you all a book that are on the call today. And if anybody views this afterwards, we can make some available as a giveaway if anybody was to watch this online and fill out the form. So with that, I will open it up for questions or anything else that you would like to ask of me.
Okay, guys, I know you're not shy. I have a ton of questions, but obviously everybody else gets to go first. So, Paolo, I see you got your hand up. We'll go first with you.
I
And I
do. I'm
think,
trying.
Larry, you also had a question. So let's do Paolo and Larry.
Okay, great. I appreciate again your time, Mohammed. My question was when you were. I'm curious about your process, about how you either identified the six pillars that you wanted to focus on, and then also the culture framework. What how did you put that together, and how did you implement it? Who did you include in the process? Was it you
Sure.
in front of a whiteboard, or I'm just curious about how you identified the structure and then how you implemented it.
Got it. So that framework came after our transformation. So we actually went through the whole journey of transforming, starting with myself. And as I was going through the journey for myself, my peers, my coworkers also began to go on the journey of behavior change and recognizing how they could be better coworkers and teammates. And it took us about 4 years to even arrive at that framework. So I only came up with that framework in 2019. And I also had traveled the world by then, met a lot of different people, leaders across the globe. Um, and so I basically used a lot of that ethnographic research, hearing people from different parts of the world, what are their challenges. And I guess I was doing research without knowing I was doing research by meeting all these people, training all these people. So at the end of 2019, when I was able to sit down with some of my coworkers and my co-authors, we started to really retrospect and see, hey, what was it that really led to our success? And what was it that transformed in our own company, starting with my behaviors? And how did we achieve that business success? And so we worked retroactively to figure out what had happened. And that's how we put the framework. And it was a whiteboarding session. And we started to put things together on it with boxes and stuff because we were trying to figure out what was the secret sauce? What was it that really worked? But also, we needed to be able to articulate it for our customers and future clients. And so we were challenged to figure out how to represent it in a way that was meaningful, simple, and yet impactful. And so that's what drove us to that framework.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Wow.
Larry.
Well, I just want to say that was one of the most enlightening presentations I think I've ever heard. And
Thank
I
you.
really want to thank you, Mohammed. That was, I mean, I'm just almost speechless, which is really rare. Um, but the fact that you were able to put your ego aside and be able to look inside, look in the mirror, as they say, and
Mhm.
you didn't like what you saw in the mirror and you realized you had to do some change. I think that was it's really incredible and you really should be commended for it. And thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it.
Patrick.
Mohammed, it was amazing. I voiced what Larry was saying there. I mean, to go from having an ego that's so big and so challenging, it's bordering on pompous, you know. And you weren't. It sounds as if you were not listening, but then it changed because you did begin to listen, and people wanted to tell you things. And when they started telling you things, you say, "Yeah, yeah, I wonder why I didn't see that before," you know. So, um, it's a wonderful story. Congratulations, congratulations, and you
Thank you,
made a lot
Patrick.
of people happy. I'd say that Mohammed is listening. What happened to him? Was he out the night before and he ate a bad curry or something, or I don't know, or, or drank a lot of whatever, and he saw the light, you know, the light, the switch switched on, you know, and an amazing moment, an amazing moment. Well done.
Thank you. In fact, I can share with you that after that football game, and on Monday when I heard Coach Tom Herman speak, the next day I had a town hall meeting with India and our US offices with the whole company, and I I I told them I love them all, and everybody was like, "What?"
Oh, he's
and
lost
their
it.
eye,
He's lost it.
yeah, they thought I'm on crack or something, and they were like, "What is wrong with Mohammed?" And I could
Yeah.
see the eyeballs rolling, and they're like, "Okay, he's just impassioned by a football game, and it's just the flavor of the month." And to be honest, like I, I didn't know I would stick to this commitment this long, but over time, I think people began to see that I wasn't perfect. I wasn't going to change overnight, but I think they saw that I was striving. I was trying. I was still making mistakes. I was still having my moments. They even crafted a term called moments, Mohments, saying, "Oh, Mo is having a moment." And so I had to just continue to recognize and realize that this is a journey that I'm not going to become perfect, but I need to keep trying. I need to be vulnerable. I need to be open and give permission to my teammates to, number one, be vulnerable themselves, but also have the courage to give me feedback because I was willing to admit my mistakes. I was willing to take ownership. I was willing to be wrong. And as I began to do more and more of that, I think people began to actually start believing cautiously that, okay, maybe this is a real change and this is not just a flavor of the month. Fortunately for me, their grace and their forgiveness helped us go on this journey.
Can you imagine the positive energy? Sorry, Rhoda. Can you imagine the positive energy that that started to emerge and continue to emerge on a regular basis on the fact that you could be wrong, you could look
Yes,
vulnerable, you could look silly, and you didn't have all the answers, but your spirit was positive.
absolutely. I had the least amount of money at that time. I sold my beloved Porsche, stopped flying. I had to even sell my house because I was in seven-figure debt and I couldn't sustain keeping my house. So I sold it, put money back into the company, and like I pretty much lost everything, but I was still the happiest I'd ever been, even without everything, because I had the love of the people around me that just gave me joy that money couldn't.
Well done.
Rhoda, go
Thank you.
ahead.
So I have two questions. Looking back to the people that you fired the wrong way,
Mhm.
were there any instances where you had to fire somebody or make an unpopular financial decision because of realities and you did it in quotes the right way? And what was the difference there?
Absolutely. There were two instances that I had to encounter that. One was there were a few senior leaders who were not willing to go on this journey of culture change and that of culture of love. They basically said, "You're all baloney. You don't know what you're talking about. This is not how the corporate place works. You can take your football analogy and take it somewhere else." And I'm like, "Well, then you need to go somewhere else." So I had to make the tough decision to fire some of my senior leaders who were not willing to go on this journey of embracing culture of love. But I did so in a respectful humanitarian way where it was not like a layoff, but I gave them time to plan, exit, have their own narrative, and make sure that they left with dignity because they had helped Softway at the end of the day. And then there was another time during COVID that I had to really figure out a way to overcome financial losses that I had encountered in March of 2020. I had $6 million taken away from me overnight from the oil and gas world. And so I did not have any future sustenance for how would I continue to keep. I had a very large payroll at the time. And so I decided to do furloughs, but furloughs with a determined period of time where people were able to come back to work on the date that I had committed, which was 12 weeks. And during that time, I made sure 100% of the health insurance was paid for because in times of health uncertainty and financial uncertainty, I didn't want them to have to worry about healthcare. Um, And then I had an opportunity to sell my investment property um, 5 weeks into COVID, and I used that money to bring back people in 6 weeks instead of 12 weeks. So that was another instance where I had to make a business decision, but I was able to do it in a way that was morally right, and it was done in a way that would not jeopardize people's lives and give them the most amount of certainty and comfort in times of, risk and uncertainty. So those were some lessons I took with me and I still take with me as we still make business decisions around certain performance of people or certain behaviors of people that are not acceptable. How do we give them a chance, but also how do we separate ways when it's not going to be beneficial for at large?
I know. I'm sitting here thinking about what you just said. If I were one of the ones that were furloughed, but my coworker was not,
Mhm.
that in itself doesn't show. That means I'm not as good as she is.
Yes, I did have that a big challenge because there were core team members that I retained in the furlough that I needed for business decisions to keep the operations running, even with existing customers and stuff. And it created an us versus them environment. So when they did come back, I had a lot of challenges. I faced a lot of turbulence because there was this us versus them mindset. Oh, you were the ones who were here and you were the ones who were furloughed.
Yes.
And it was not easy. It was, in my mind, I'm like, I'm doing the best I can. But in their mind, they're like, I'm the one who was not valued when it time came for furloughs. And so it was a real challenge. It was a genuine challenge. And some of them have overcome that. Some of them saw it as they were grateful. They showed gratitude, and some of them had resentment. And when 2021 came across, a lot of those people who had held on to resentment they left on their own, and I wholeheartedly supported them because at the end of the day, as a leader, as a business leader, we have to make a lot of tough decisions. But as long as we know at the bottom of our heart that we're doing what's morally right in the capacity and the constraints that we have, whether people appreciate it or not, you should do it without any expectations. And so I only hope that they will forgive me when time is appropriate because it's a journey, it won't happen overnight. But until then, I can only wish well for them.
Hey, Mohammed, we're getting very close here to the end of the hour, and like I said, I want to give people a break to get ready for their next meeting. But I'll ask you maybe, if I may, one last question, unless somebody else has one last question. But um, I noticed some of the companies you work with are public, and it
Mhm.
sounds like maybe your own company and maybe some others were private. Is it harder to do this with a public company because maybe there are some more external pressures from shareholders or people that maybe don't understand it as well? And if so, is it harder? And do you do something different in public versus private?
No, I don't do anything different from public versus private organizations. Yes, while there might be different business drivers for a private company versus a public company, when you are able to demonstrate that the value of culture has an impact on the business, even the shareholders get excited, right? Because when you're able to show that culture is a competitive advantage, culture can bring about higher performance. Think about all of the M&As that have failed because of people issues. It looks great on paper from a financial plan, but ultimately a lot of those fail because of battling of people and cultural issues and challenges. So when we're able to go demonstrate the business outcomes that can be achieved by transforming culture, it actually becomes a no-brainer for a lot of the corporate organizations. Like, okay, if this can help 2x, 3x our outcomes, let's invest into it. So I'm seeing, especially now post-COVID, I'm seeing a lot more embracing of this by the public corporation because they're faced with huge attrition and great resignation challenges, that they understand that people are not quitting just for money anymore. They're quitting because they don't want to be micromanaged. They don't want to have a bad boss. And so they are now realizing that, oh, wait, we do have to consider people. We do have to take care of people. So they're requiring help. And so I'm seeing a lot of demand all over the nation. That's why I even got contacted by Highmark Health to help them because they're facing a lot of attrition challenges. And so I'm seeing a lot of these publicly traded companies now embracing love more with open arms than probably pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, they were like, "What is wrong with you?" Post-COVID, they're like, "Okay, we need it."
So,
Okay,
Mohammed,
perfect.
is it fair to suggest that some people would say, I don't like Mohammed, but I trust him. You know, I, I trust. There is a sense of trust about this man, and you know that's encouraging. You don't see that. I mean, who do you trust today? Name three organizations you trust today, or three people you trust today. I mean, it's. I've asked that of my children around the table, and they're struggling. I was struggling myself. You
Mhm.
know.
I
Mohammed,
agree with you.
could I say one?
Yes,
Could I?
Larry.
Yeah. Um, about in the late '90s, I was a managing director for a merchant banking firm down here in Miami, and we had this standard thing when we would have uh, the owner or the president or the CEO, whatever they wanted to call themselves, come in, and we would always, when we looked at their financials and realized it was really messed up, we would always ask them the question, "Are you more interested in your ego or your bank account?" And of course, you always got the answer of my bank account. And in the end, we would always find out it was their ego, except one or two times somebody would realize that it really should be my bank account and I got to throw my ego out the door and that's how I'm going to get there. And the fact that you were able to do that, again, I commend you, but it's more of, as you were talking, that comment just popped into my head and said, you know, it was very difficult to find somebody who was really could put their ego aside and for the
Thank you.
better good. So, thank you.
Thank you. So our goal is to
Well,
try and
guys,
help
let me
other
do
leaders do
something.
that. Yes, Sal.
Um, I'm sorry, Mohammed, because we are, and this is, I guess, a validation of how good your presentation has been. We're just according to my clock here in the computer, banging against the end of the hour. So I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us to do this fantastic presentation. I will share the link of the recording with you and everybody else here later. Feel free to use it in any way that helps you. But I don't want to end without giving Patrick a chance to do his 1 or 2 minute introduction. So, Patrick, if you could please do your 1 or 2 minute
Oh,
introduction
thank,
before we
thank,
end.
thank you, Sal, so much. Basically, every problem in our body in relation to how our cells communicate, it all starts with amplifying and clarifying critical cell signaling, and the difference it is making in most people's lives is absolutely astonishing, because it's now possible to reimagine health, because science is now pointing to a whole new level of health, the cellular level, using groundbreaking redox signaling technology impacting every organ and function in the body, including fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, and overwhelm. So that's it. I'll put my details in the chat, and thank you so much. My mouse wouldn't work. That's why I was late joining you.
Okay. Well, we're all glad you can make it. Because, by the way, Mohammed, Patrick is one of our regulars, as well as Rhoda and, some of the other folks. There's some folks that just don't miss one of these meetings. So thank you all very much. Again, thank you for being our guest speaker, uh, Mohammad Anwar, President and CEO at Softway and Culture Plus. His book is Love as a Business Strategy, Resilience, Belonging, and Success. And again, when I send out the link to the video chat tonight, I'll send out a link to his book on Amazon. And I do want to get you all out of here. It is, oh my God, almost 3 p.m. on the East Coast. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Mohammed. And I'll see everybody in exactly 2 weeks.
Bye, guys.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks,
Enjoy your time
Mohammed.
down here.
Yes, I